Hey, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it, forced upon me. I can't refuse it. Didn't seek it, I didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer. If I lose it, give account if I abuse it, just a tiny little minute, but our eternities are wrapped up in it. I'm grateful for this minute, this moment, this opportunity to be able to be on with you with a special edition of the Jolly Good News Report. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful day. And it's a beautiful day that the Lord has made. Oh, it's got some weather challenges across the country, but hey, I'm in the house. I'm grateful. We are healthy. We got some food in the refrigerator. We got heat. We got warmth. We got a fireplace, and we got each other, and we got you and me. So this is our time together. I want you to do me a favor. Would you start a watch party? I got a special program to do today, the start of a series on how you can turn your setbacks into comebacks with some good news. Good news in challenging bad times. You know, these are challenging times, but there's good in the midst of the times, and I'm going to share them to these good things with you over the next few weeks. So tell Lottie Dottie and everybody. So put on your list to join us every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and tell your friends to join in, because I'm going to give you some principles that will help you to have greater personal and professional success. Principles are critically important. If you throw a rock up in the air, it will come down. You do it 100 times, it comes down 100 times. You do it 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. It's always going to come down because of a principle called gravity. And so what we want to give you is some principles that will help you to have greater personal, professional success, principles that work, that have worked for others and work for you, work for me. They work over and over again. And if you use these principles, they will have a great impact. So start a watch party right now, so everybody in your network will know about it. Tell people, like it and share it as well. And tell somebody, hey, you got to tune in and turn on. And give them a link to this broadcast so that they can see it at their convenience whenever it's good for them. We're going to talk about a number of things that will help you from my book, A Setback is a Setup for a Comeback. I'm very grateful for that book. And for those who don't know my story, let me tell you, start by, at the beginning of the book, I tell my story. The first couple pages of the book, I talk about my story. It's only 2 pages. Now, the book is still over 200 pages, but I tell my story in the first couple pages because I just want to let you know who I am and what I do. But I always like to share this little piece at the beginning of the book that I think is an acknowledgement section. In every life, there comes a time, a minute, when you must decide to stand up and live your dreams or fall back and live your fears. In that minute of decision, you must grasp the decision and the vision and seize the power of that moment and the power that lies deep inside of you. Then you will see that dreams really can and do come true. All things are possible if you can just believe. It only takes a minute. It only takes a minute. It only takes a minute to change your life. It only takes a minute to learn that this setback you might be going through is nothing but a setup for a greater comeback. Your best is yet to come. I want you to know that this setback is a setup for a comeback. Whatever you're going through, we've been through a lot of setbacks, a pandemic, economic downturn, massive job loss, racial strife, the loss of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. We've had social upheaval. We've had an unbelievable political, destructive, and as well as distracting process. We've had ecological setbacks on both coasts. One coast, we had hurricanes coming so rapidly and so quickly that they ran out of names. And on the other coast, they had fires that popped up that destroyed whole communities. The worst they'd seen in centuries. And so, setbacks. But I want you to get a new perspective. I got good news for you today, that a setback is a setup for a comeback. Now, as we start this process, I start by telling you my story because I think it's important. For some of you, you might know it and some might not. I don't want to take the chance that you say, well, who is this guy that my friend sent me this video? Who is this Dr. Willie Jolley? I am grateful that I make my living giving speeches and writing books and doing television and radio and podcast and trying to inspire people. I have a mission statement to inspire people to rise above their circumstances and maximize their God-given ability in as many ways as possible. That's my mission, to do it in many ways as possible, through books and TV and radio and mass media and social media, through speaking and all these other ways to get more people to rise above their circumstances and maximize their God-given abilities. Everybody has gifts. It's not if you are smart, it's how are you smart. Everybody has genius. Everybody who's watching, you got genius in you, but you got to understand that not all genius comes the same way. Some people are academically genius. Some people are musically genius. Some people are artistically genius. Some people are architecturally genius. Some people are creatively genius in the sense of being able to see something and organize it in a way that's genius. And some people are genius in terms of their memories. There's so many ways, and everybody got some genius. It's not if you are smart, it's how are you smart. In fact, I saw some good news. Many of you saw the Super Bowl and you saw The Weeknd do his performance, and there were I think over 100 of others who had these face bandages and these red jackets and black shirt and black pants. They did an expose on one of those young men who was in that costume who has autism. And he was chosen because he was able to do a video, or he did a video of him dancing, and his dance moves were so exact and so detailed. They said, we got to get this guy. Now, they interviewed him and he said, I have autism. It's my superpower because I have a photographic memory. I can see something once and repeat it. We've seen people who have superpowers that look like a disability, but they're superpowers. It's how you shape it. So there's genius. Even somebody say, well, he's autistic or she's autistic or they have this disability. No, shape it different. You swiftly turn it and you see that it's not a negative. It's a positive. You've got genius. I don't care what your situation is, your circumstance. You've got genius. It's not if you are smart, it's how are you smart. Find your genius, develop your genius, grow your genius, and expand your genius. And don't let someone else make your genius a negative when it was meant to be a positive. It's your superpower. I think about Les Brown. Les Brown, my dear friend, who, by the way, if you haven't heard his recent interview on my Sirius XM show, you should go to my podcast and listen. It was phenomenal. Go to Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast. You can get it on iHeart, C-Suite, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Listen to all of them. Listen to all of them. Damon John and Colin Powell. And Damon John's going to be on my XM show up in the next coming weeks as well. We just did a new interview with him. And for those who don't know, he's on Shark Tank and he started FUBU and he's a multimillionaire. But Les Brown talked about how he was failed in school. He failed from in elementary school. He failed again in high school. And he is a twin. And the kids made fun of him and called him the dumb twin. His brother Wesley was said to be the smart twin, and Leslie was said to be the dumb twin. And he accepted that. For many years, he accepted that. One day, though, he was waiting for a friend of his, MacArthur Stevens. He tells the story. And he went into a class, and the teacher, Mr. Washington, was doing an exercise on the board and said, young man, come up here and finish this exercise for me. He said, I can't do that. And all the kids started giggling. And they said, why can't you do it? I'm DT. They all laughed. He's DT. He's DT. What does DT mean? The dumb twin. And the teacher came from around his desk and said, what? He said, yeah, I'm the dumb twin. And Mr. Washington said to him, son, don't ever let somebody's opinion of you become your reality. Don't let somebody else take your superpower. Now, what Les had was a gift of oratory, a genius of oratorical skills, but he had never realized it because people had made fun of him and the fact that he could put words together. They made fun of him because he had this great memory and could remember quotes and things. They made fun of him and tried to make that a negative, but he learned after that day that was his superpower. You got superpower. Well, let's look at how it went on. Les left high school, graduated from high school, and still wasn't confident. So he worked for the sanitation department for a while. But he realized something else. He wanted a dream. He had a goal. He wanted to be a radio disc jockey. So he remembered how others had talked about never giving up. And he remembered stories he had heard about people going on to becoming success. So he just continued to work on his goal and his dream of becoming a radio disc jockey. And he had to go through many negative turn downs. People telling him no, the general manager, but he would watch. Once he finally got a chance to be a gopher, a boy Friday in the radio station and go get their coffee and take their urns and go to get laundry for them, he would watch them use those buttons on the board. And he, because of his photographic memory, remembered them. And one day he got a shot. One of the disc jockeys was unable to finish his show. The general manager called and said, somebody needs to finish. He said, I could do it. He said, don't say anything. No, I got it. He said, you know how to work the button? Yes, sir. And he got it. That guy out of the way, pulled the mic down and said, this is LB Triple P, your platter playing papa. There was none before me and none after me, and there will never be anyone like me. And he went on to this rap, and it was so successful, and people turned up the radio. He started playing music, and he became the #1 disc jockey on that station. Then he went to Ohio and became a community activist on radio. And then he became a community activist who went on to be voted in legislative in the state Senate. And he started giving speeches and found his superpower, which they had laughed at him when he was in high school, using quotes, remembering parts of maybe a speech from something like Teddy Roosevelt, the man who refused to give up in the ring, who refused to give in, and who would fight with sweat and grit. Well, he remembered those things. He could remember quotes. He could remember axioms. He could remember stories. And he went on to become the #1 motivational speaker in the world, named by Toastmasters as one of the top 5 speakers in the world. I'm honored. I'm also in that group of 50 speakers who have been given that honor. But if it hadn't been for Les Brown, it wouldn't be a Willie Jolley, because he opened the door for me. And I'm grateful for his friendship. I just want to show you how someone else can try and take your superpower and make it a negative. And that is why I'm encouraging you today that your superpower, you got a superpower, not if, you got a superpower. And I want you to use your superpower, find your gift, use your gift, expand your gift, develop your gift. And then you will learn that there's something special inside of you. You were born for greatness. You were born to do great things. You were born to make a difference. And so when you have these setbacks that come upon us, we all going to have setbacks. Not maybe, not might. You will all be in a position somewhere in your life, in your journey, you're going to have setbacks. You might experience what I call the devastating D's of life. The devastating D's of life. A downsizing, a divorce, a disease, a diagnosis, or the death of a loved one, a disaster. I don't know what that D is going to be. Mine was downsizing, getting fired. I was a nightclub singer. Singing jingles during the day. Pizza Hut, making it great. We work well together. News for and you. PET, Black Entertainment TV. It's happening, it's happening, it's happening. Iverson is happening. Iverson Mall, the heavenly place. So I sang jingles during the day, but I made the majority of my income singing in nightclubs, dark, dank, smoke-filled nightclubs. And that was how I made my living. Built one of the top nightclub acts in Washington, D.C., won the awards. Best jazz singer, best entertainer, best performer, best inspirational, best jazz, best. I got them all across. I got even more of them. I was doing great. Had built a very popular nightclub act. Had bought a new sports car and had a house, and we were doing great. People would line up at 7 o'clock for the 8 o'clock show, 9 o'clock for the 10 o'clock show. Things were going great. One night I went in a nightclub, and a club owner said, "I want to talk to you after the night show." Told the guys in the band they want to talk. We've been selling out for 6 months. We got standing room only audiences. We're finally going to get our raise. I walked in the manager's office and he said, "You were great. The people loved you." I said, "Yes. You know, you've made a lot of money for us over the years." "Yes." Which is why it's hard for me to tell you what I got to tell you. Now that we made a lot of money, we've decided we got to get a better return on investment. And the only way to do that with a full nightclub is to lower the cost, and the band's the biggest cost. We got something else that's going around the country that's filling up nightclubs. We bought a karaoke machine. It was during the karaoke craze. He said, "We've learned that many clubs are selling out night after night. And they can do it all night. They don't have a time limit. People stay all night, wee morning, wee hours of the morning." And we decided to give that a shot. I said, but what about my bills? And I learned that night, nobody cares about your bills but you and the people you owe. And I was devastated. I was despondent. What am I going to do? All I know to do is being a nightclub singer. I love that. But God had something bigger for me. God had something better for me. Was I willing to accept the greater, the better, and leave the former? It was tough, though. I was depressed. But a friend gave me an audio cassette. And on that audio cassette, first time I'd ever heard a motivational speech or message, God said, "In 5 years, you'll be the same person you are today, except for two things: the people you meet who inspire you, the books you read that empower you." And that same friend gave me a book called Think and Grow Rich. I never read a book from cover to cover. In school, I would skim through the books, but I never read a book from cover to cover like that. A motivational book. Now, when I was a kid, I read biographies. And now I realize why, because they were stories of people who had overcome. I'd go to the library, get biographies, something about it, not knowing that God was setting me up for knowing the stories of comebacks. Like one story I loved was Thomas Edison. As a child, he almost got killed on a train track trying to jump a train, and someone pulled his ears when he was almost going to be pulled under the train, and it snapped a vein in his ear, and he was partially deaf. But I love that story. I read about Abraham Lincoln and how he had setback after setback. He failed in business at 21. He failed again in business at 27. He lost a legislative race at 32, lost another one at 34. His sweetheart died along the way. He had more failures, more business failures, legislative failures, congressional races. He lost almost every race he had up until he was 49. And at 52, he was elected president of the United States, and the most transformational president that America's seen. So don't let your failures stop you, your setbacks. They can be a superpower. Well, I read this book, Think and Grow Rich, and my thinking changed. I took a job with the Washington, D.C. public school system while I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And it was during that year I discovered this ability to speak, because it was part of my job to give speeches to little kids about staying away from drugs. And I discovered, because I was entertaining and had been in front of people, I wasn't afraid of audiences. Many of the other people who had to give speeches were trembling in front of people. I had no fear. I just had to learn something to say. And so they gave us a Toastmasters course, and it's called Speech Crafters. I took the Speech Crafters course, and the teacher said, "You're good at this. You should be thinking about doing this more beyond what you're doing here." I said, "Really?" He encouraged me. Sometimes you just need need encouragement. He said, yeah, you should. And I started giving more and more speeches as part of my job and outside my job. And things started growing. And from the little kids, the teachers would say, could you come to teachers group? Someone at the teachers group say, can you come to my church? Someone at the church would say, can you come to my company? Someone at the company would say, can you come to my association? And it grew and grew. And I finally quit my job with the school system, became a full-time speaker. Les Brown heard about this guy who was a speaker, who was a singer. They were looking for an opening act with the Music and Motivation Dream Team tour. And so he invited me to be the opening act after hearing me. And that allowed me to meet Les Brown and Billy Preston and Gladys Knight and all these great speakers. And then they invited me to more opportunities. I got inducted and induced and exposed to corporate America, and Les and Gladys introduced me to some radio people. I got a little radio show. It got popular, and then it got syndicated, and now I'm on Sirius XM. I have one of the top shows in America on Sirius XM, the #1 self-help show in America. That led to podcasts and the radio one and the TV, PBS specials, and then books. A book publisher heard me on the radio and offered me an opportunity to write a book. I wrote a book called It Only Takes a Minute, Change Your Life. My first book became a national bestseller, then a setback set up for a comeback, became a global bestseller, then turned setbacks into greenbacks, The Attitude of Excellence, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and then our marriage book, Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last, all because I had a setback. I got fired, replaced by a karaoke machine. What I want to say to you is this. A setback is not the end of the story, not the end of the road. Let me share with you what a setback is and what a setback is not. Because many people aren't clear what a setback is. And I want to make sure you know what a setback is and what a setback is not, so you don't get them confused. What is a setback? Right out of the book, setback set up for a comeback. Before we go too far, I believe we should make sure that we're on the same page as to what a setback is and what a setback is not. We must make sure we have a good working definition of the word setback. Due to varied cultural and geographic elements, we find that people may have different definitions of the same word. I once heard Dr. Frederick Casey Price, the great evangelist and televangelist, talk about the importance of semantics. He told the audience in the congregation that semantics, the common definition of words, is critical in effectively communicating ideas. Without clear, consistent definition, there are too many people who have different thoughts, and there'll be room for error. Like if you were told, I just saw a fox going down the street. Some people would think of a furry little animal with 4 legs and a pointy nose. Someone else might think of a certain brand of automobile. It used to be a Volkswagen Fox car. Then someone else might think of a very beautiful woman. When we were growing up, he said, that's a foxy woman. She's a fox. Okay. It could be confusing if you do not make it clear what kind of fox you're actually specifying. Therefore, we must make sure we're consistent and effective in our definition of the word setback. Webster's third new international dictionary defines setback as a checking of progress, an unexpected reverse or defeat, a hindrance, a reversal, an impediment, a block, an obstruction, a defeat, a delay, a disadvantage, a disappointment, a holdup, a rebuff, an upset, a loss, a relapse. Did you notice the word death, the end, or finish did not appear in that group? That shows that a setback is not the end of the road unless you choose it. John Capozzi, a consultant, said a turn or bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. In reality, is not the end. It's a temporary situation that can be turned around. It is not death, because death is death, and a setback is a setback. Death is final. A setback is not. They are not the same thing. There might be time when people have setbacks, and they may appear dead. They may be on the verge of death or on the verge of giving up and calling it a done deal. But as long as there's a small spark left, there's a possibility for turning that setback into a comeback and coming back with power. Tina Turner, great example. After years of abuse from her husband, Ike, she finally decided to leave. She left with no money, flat broke. She disappeared from the public view and tried to get a record company in America to sign her but they all turned her down, said she was washed up. But Tina Turner disagreed, made up her mind she was going to make a comeback. She went to Europe and recorded a song called What's Love Got to Do with It, which became a massive success. She went on to become the highest grossing concert artist of that time in the world. She's been inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame. She's been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2 categories. First, as part of Ike and Tina Turner, and then as a solo act. John Travolta is another example of a comeback kid. He was very successful on television with a show called Welcome Back, Mr. Carter. He decided to do some movies, and he drifted from one unsuccessful movie to another unsuccessful movie, B movies that they called, and he disappeared from the scene. Many said he was washed up, he was done. But he decided to come back, and he came back with power in a movie called Pulp Fiction. The movie was a hit, and he went on to continue to do a great one hit after another and another and another. Lee Iacocca, the automobile executive, who introduced the Mustang car, the Mustang sports car to America, he was fired from Ford, left for dead, and the only job he could get with was Chrysler Motors, who was on the verge of bankruptcy at that time. Yet Iacocca turned his setback into an incredible comeback, where he not only transformed himself, but also revived and transformed Chrysler and inspired America. And there are more and more stories like this. It's like the mythical phoenix. The phoenix, the bird which rises out of the ashes. As long as there is a spark, an ember, you can come back. Now let's look at what the word comeback means. Webster's Third International Dictionary says that a comeback is a return to a former position or condition, a recovery, a rebound, a rebuttal, a reply, a response, a revival, a retort. The key is to learn how to change your patterns and responses, to constantly turn your setbacks into setup for comeback. We must see that adversity is not the end of the story, and that your adversity is your strength. In other words, what others may laugh at might be your superpower. Come on, somebody. You were born for greatness. You got superpower in you, and don't let anybody else's opinion of you become your reality. You were born for greatness. You were born to turn setbacks into comeback. There's something bigger and better and greater and grander inside of you, but you must be willing to change your thinking. I hope this show today will be a spark to help you change your thinking. You're looking at a guy who changed his thinking, who started reading books, who now has libraries and thousands of books. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in books because they changed my life. I'm encouraging you to invest in yourself. I'm encouraging you to go to jollygoodnews.org and check out the resources we got there, some free, and then get some of the books and resources that I offer there, and then make a donation if you can, because we want to take this message, this program, these positive messages to more and more people globally, so they can learn that their best is still yet to come, that their setbacks are nothing but set up for a comeback, and that they can turn their lives around, and that someone's opinion of them does not have to become their reality, as my dear friend Les Brown says, who's celebrating his birthday real soon. He's 76. He said, if you get knocked down, try and land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. You can turn your setbacks into great comebacks. This is Dr. Willie Jolley. Thank you for your time. Share this message with everybody you know, because it's comeback time for you, your friends, your family members, and then stay safe. And we got more. I'm going to go through this whole setback book, and we're going to go chapter by chapter to help you grow and help you to win. Hey, have a great day. Remember, your best is yet to come. Stay tuned to us and stay connected with us. And make sure you join us Monday nights for Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last, the broadcast, 9 o'clock Eastern Time on Facebook Live, Willie.Jolley. And then sign up for my newsletter. Go to winwithwillie.com, winwithwillie.com. Sign up for the newsletter, and I'll send you a free 1-minute motivational message every day, Monday through Friday, and share this message globally. And then make sure that you get the book for your love month in this month of February, love month, Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last. You can get that at jollymarriage.com, and you can get a free chapter there, and then get the book. Get 2 copies, one for you and your significant other. It will change your marriage and change your life. Have a great day. God bless you. Your best is yet to come.